Good morning, and hello, welcome back to CS 492F, Futures of the World. Topic C, Future of Ecology and Sustenance, Part 2, continuing the presentation, the vision, and the discussion of the ideas of last Monday, of Aben, of Jimin, and of Dilnas. So without further ado, we can now proceed and give the spotlight to the presenters.
Hello, everyone. We are Group 3 with the topic Future of Ecology and Sustenance. We divided our topic into two parts. On Monday, we focused on the future of ecology and environmental sustainability. And today we'll focus on the future of sustenance and food security. In today's presentation, we'll explore the challenges our planet is facing currently, the possible future challenges and innovations, and the policy and ethical considerations for sustenance. Let us begin with an understanding of the current state of sustenance and food security in our world. But first, what is food security? Food security is when all people at all times have physical and economic access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food that meets their dietary needs and food preferences for an active and healthy life. So the main things here are availability, access, stability, and utilization. In recent years, the concern on the global food security has increased immensely. You might think, how bad is it? Every year, the Food and Agriculture Organization, together with other organizations, releases a report on the condition of global food security. Let us watch 2023's report.
For the first time since the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, rising world hunger figures appear to have plateaued in 2022. According to new State of Food Security and Nutrition in the World figures, global hunger remained relatively unchanged from 2021 to 2022. But this is still far above pre-COVID-19 pandemic levels, affecting around 9.2% of the world population in 2022, compared with 7.9% in 2019. New figures estimate that between 691 and 783 million people in the world faced hunger in 2022. This reflects an additional 122 million people who have fallen into hunger since 2019. And projections suggest around 600 million people will be chronically undernourished in 2030, despite ambitious targets set forth in the SDG 2030 agenda. This is about 119 million more than in a scenario in which neither the pandemic nor the war in Ukraine had occurred, and around 23 million more than if 2022 events had not happened. Nevertheless, the report shows that the trends in hunger vary greatly by region. From 2021 to 2022, progress was made towards reducing hunger in Asia and Latin America. But there are many places in the world facing serious food security crises. Hunger was on the rise in Western Asia, the Caribbean, and all regions of Africa. Those disparities are also visible across demographics. Worldwide, food insecurity disproportionately affects women and people living in rural areas. Globally, more than 3.1 billion people are unable to afford a healthy diet. 148 million children under age 5, or 22.3%, were affected by stunting, and 6.8% suffered from wasting. At the same time, 37 million children of children under 5, or 5.6%, are overweight. Steady progress has been made on increasing exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months of life and on reducing stunting among children under 5 years of age, but not overweight, wasting and low birth weight. In this challenging environment, urbanization is a megatrend that must be factored into our efforts to end hunger, food insecurity and malnutrition in all its forms. Urbanization is driving changes in agri-food systems across the rural-urban continuum that affects access to affordable, healthy diets, and will be key to continuing efforts to meet the SDG 2 target by 2030.
After hearing the numbers, I'm sure everyone here would agree that we need solutions and innovations to sustain our world. However, as we strive to do this, what damage are we causing and what obstacles do we face? First, let us look at agriculture. While conventional agriculture has been a cornerstone in boosting food supplies to meet global demand, it's essential to consider the environmental costs. The methods we've relied upon are proving unsustainable, leading us to a crossroads where change isn't just beneficial, it's necessary for our future. Let's look at the environmental impacts. First, soil. A resource as old as the earth itself is degrading under the stress of intense farming. The very ground that feeds us is losing its vitality, risking future harvests and food availability. Next, we face the water crisis. The lifeline of agriculture, water is becoming scarcer and tainted with agricultural runoff chemicals that not only harm aquatic life, but also our own health and access to clean water. And the diversity of life that sustains our ecosystem is diminishing. Monocultures have replaced the rich tapestries of biodiversity, making our food supply more susceptible to pests and disease outbreaks. But there is hope. Sustainable farming methods. These practices embrace the rhythm of nature, promoting soil health through crop rotation and reduced reliance on harmful chemicals. They encourage organic farming, which not only nurtures the soil, but also conserves water. By adopting integrated pest management, we can protect our crops and the diversity of species that are protecting our agricultural ecosystems. These sustainable practices are our ticket to a resilient food system that can withstand the pressures of climate change and growing population. Now, let's look at one case study demonstrating sustainable farming practices. It's really interesting how these people using ancient practices found a way of farming that is better for the environment, right? There are many other small communities that are applying sustainable agriculture. However, because we are facing a problem on a grand scale, we need huge innovative solutions for our future. This requires the use of technology. But before we look at that, I want to discuss one more factor that is related to agriculture and affects food security. It's water scarcity. Agriculture is a major consumer of global freshwater resources. And as we face increasing water scarcity, the way we manage this precious resource can make or break our food supply. The link is clear. Without adequate water, agriculture cannot thrive. And without agriculture, our food supply is in poverty. The statistics are liters of water to produce just 1 kilogram of wheat. Now, if we multiply that by the global scale of wheat production, we can see that the sheer volume of water needed is very large. Things might seem so bleak, but innovative water management strategies in agriculture are showing us a way forward. Techniques like drip irrigation, shown here, deliver water directly to the roots of plants, reducing waste. Rainwater harvesting captures water that would otherwise be lost. New technologies like soil moisture sensors ensure that water is only used when and where it's needed. So far, we've looked at the sustenance problems we are currently facing. Now, let's look at current technological innovations and how technology is revolutionizing the way we produce food. From high-tech farming to meat in the lab. These advancements are not just about meeting demand, they're about shaping a sustainable future for our planet. First, let's talk about vertical farming, aquaponics, and hydroponics. Vertical farming stacks layers of crops, maximizing space and resources. It allows us to grow food in urban centers, reducing transportation costs and emissions. Aquaponics combines fish farming with plant cultivation, creating a symbiotic environment where the waste produced by fish supplies serves as nutrients for plants. And the plants purify the water for the fish. It is an efficient closed-loop system. Hydroponics, on the other hand, involves growing plants without soil, using nutrient-rich water solutions. This technique can produce higher yields with less water and can be implemented anywhere from deserts to space stations. This solves our water scarcity problem. Now, let us watch this video to see these innovations at work.
Time-lapse of a tower of pak choi in a polytunnel on a farm near Stratford-upon-Avon. This is hydroponic farming, and it allows 3 times as many plants to be grown in the same space. And you can grow more plants over time because these towers need little preparation between crops, unlike a field.
So we'd normally clear the crop, and then we've got to recultivate, maybe wait for it to dry out, get the tractors in there, get some fertiliser on, prepare a nice tilth, get it all planted. It could take a week or so, yes.
But you don't do any of that now?
We don't do any of that, we just pull out the crop and new one in, yeah.
This crop of pak choi hasn't even needed pesticides, a big saving in time and money. The whole idea was developed over 6 years in these greenhouses at the University of Birmingham. With hydroponics, the plants grow in a soil substitute like clay pebbles or here, rock wool, and you can control everything from the warmth of the roots to the nutrients in the water, and different nutrient recipes produce very different results.
You can adjust the colour, you can adjust the flavour, and obviously you can significantly impact upon the yields, such that, for example, we've grown pak choi on 2 different recipes and changed the yield by 2 kilos per square metre.
Can you really change the flavour of a lettuce just by altering the nutrients in the water?
This is number 1. Okay. That's number 2. There's a definite difference. This is sweeter.
It's not just pak choi and lettuce. On Manor Farm near Tamworth, they've been trying hydroponic strawberries. Traditionally, it's a thirsty crop, but this new system has drastically reduced the water the fruit need.
Obviously, with the water being recycled, the water use is going to go down to perhaps 15–20% of what we would normally use in the field.
These are the first real crops to be grown outside the university greenhouses, but the pak choi grower is so impressed with the results of this trial, they're going to be rolling it out on a much larger scale at their Evesham farm. These towers could be the future of farming. David Gregory Kumar, BBC Midlands Today, near Stratford-upon-Avon.
Finally, let's look at the future of protein, lab-grown meat. This innovation involves cultivating meat for animal cells, meaning we could have beef, pork, or chicken without ever raising or harvesting live animals. The implications are vast, from reducing greenhouse gas emissions to freeing up vast areas of land currently used for grazing. But meat isn't the only source of protein on the table. There has been a rise in alternative protein sources, such as plant-based proteins that mimic meat, insects that offer high protein content with a tiny environmental footprint, and algae that can be harvested to provide nutritional and sustainable food supplements. These alternative proteins are more than just substitutes. They represent a shift in our food culture, and they also are also redefining our relationship with food. As we continue to innovate, we pave the way for a food system that could sustain our world. But as we do so, let's keep in mind the ethical implications of our innovations. Thank you, everyone. Now my teammate Jimeen will discuss the future of sustenance.
Okay. Thank you, Ayman. for your presentation. Hello, my name is Jimin, and in this chapter, I'm going to cover about the future innovation for sustenance and some use cases for the technology. In the future, farming will certainly become more efficient and more sustainable. So what kind of changes will happen? Let's imagine for a while watching this video. I'm sorry for the inconvenience.
This agricultural revolution was a turning point in our history.
Okay. Can you hear the audio?
Yeah.
The first agricultural revolution was characterized by expansion and exploitation, feeding people at the expense of forests, wildlife, and water, and destabilizing the climate in the process. That's not an option the next time around. Agriculture depends on a stable climate, with predictable seasons and weather patterns. This means we can't keep expanding our agricultural lands because doing so will undermine the environmental conditions that make agriculture possible in the first place. Instead, the next agricultural revolution will have to increase the output of our existing farmland for the long term, while protecting biodiversity, conserving water, and reducing pollution and greenhouse gas emissions. So what will the future farms look like? This drone is part of a fleet that monitors the crops below. The farm may look haphazard, but it's a delicately engineered use of the land that intertwines crops and livestock with wild habitats. Conventional farming methods cleared large swathes of land and planted them with a single crop, eradicating wildlife and emitting huge amounts of greenhouse gases in the process. This approach aims to correct that damage. Meanwhile, moving among the crops, teams of field robots apply fertilizer in targeted doses. Inside the soil, hundreds of sensors gather data on nutrients and water levels. This information reduces unnecessary water use and tells farmers where they should apply more and less fertilizer, instead of causing pollution by showering it across the whole farm. But the farms of the future won't be all sensors and robots. These technologies are designed to help us produce food in a way that works with the environment rather than against it, taking into account the nuances of local ecosystems. Lower-cost agricultural practices can also serve those same goals and are much more accessible to many farmers. In fact, many such practices are already in use today and stand to have an increasingly large impact as more farmers adopt them. In Costa Rica, farmers have intertwined farmland with tropical habitat so successfully that they've significantly contributed to doubling the country's forest cover. This provides food and habitat for wildlife, as well as natural pollination and pest control from the birds and insects these farms attract, producing food while restoring the planet. In the United States, ranchers are raising cattle on grasslands composed of native species, generating a valuable protein source using production methods that store carbon and protect biodiversity. In Bangladesh, Cambodia, and Nepal, new approaches to rice production may dramatically decrease greenhouse gas emissions in the future. Rice is a staple food for 3 billion people, and the main source of livelihood for millions of households. More than 90% of rice is grown in flooded paddies, which use a lot of water and release 11% of annual methane emissions, which accounts for 1 to 2% of total annual greenhouse gas emissions globally. By experimenting with new strains of rice, irrigating less, and adopting less labor-intensive ways of planting seeds, farmers in these countries have already increased their incomes and crop yields while cutting down on greenhouse gas emissions. In Zambia, numerous organizations are investing in locally specific methods to improve crop production, reduce forest loss, and improve livelihoods for local farmers. These efforts are projected to increase crop yield by almost a quarter over the next few decades. If combined with methods to combat deforestation in the region, they could move the country toward a resilient, climate-focused agricultural sector. And in India, where up to 40% of post-harvest food is lost or wasted due to poor infrastructure, farmers have already started to implement solar-powered cold storage capsules that help thousands of rural farmers preserve their produce and become a viable part of the supply chain. It will take all of these methods, from the most high-tech to the lowest cost, to revolutionize farming. High-tech interventions stand to amplify climate and conservation-oriented approaches to farming, and large producers will need to invest in implementing these technologies. Meanwhile, we'll have to expand access to the lower-cost methods for smaller-scale farmers. This vision of future farming will also require a global shift toward more plant-based diets and huge reductions in food loss and waste, both of which will reduce pressure on the land and allow farmers to do more with what they have available. If we optimize food production, both on land and sea, we can feed humanity within the environmental limits of the Earth. But there's a very small margin of error, and it will take unprecedented global cooperation and coordination of the agricultural lands we have today.
So the first technology areas we'll cover are IoT and precision agriculture. Precision agriculture refers to the overall agricultural management system used to control variables and achieve more perfect management. These systems require a variety of hardware technologies. For example, there are drones for transportation and harvesting, sensors to observe humidity, temperature, soil conditions, and crop growth, and cameras and satellite systems to provide accurate visual information. Finally, IoT system to connect and manage all of this hardware is required. So, what are the advantages of precision agriculture? There are various advantages, but the biggest benefit is the risk management. A wide variety of factors affect the growth of crops, and it is not easy for people to see and respond to all of them. However, if you use these technologies, you can expect a successful harvest every time. Among the technologies that will be used in the future, there will definitely be biotech and genomics. We can use GMOs to grow crops that are resistant to pests, grow more easily, and are nutritious. And we can also prepare in advance for infectious disease and pests through genomic analysis. In addition, not only crops, but also meat can use stem cell technology to further reduce the risk of sewage and methane gas produced by livestock. Efficient food production through various technologies is a very important task, but farming cannot be done in a disturbed environment. Therefore, for future sustenance, a sustainable and environmentally adaptable method is needed. One of the well-known methods for growing various crops in turns to prevent depletion of our nutrients in the soil. And in addition to that, there is a method called agroforestry, which is a method of farming safer from external factors by stabilizing the land by growing trees at the same time. Lastly, there are eco-friendly pest control methods that use the ecosystem food chain instead of pesticides. An example is reducing the use of pesticides by releasing insects, the natural enemies of the pest. Lastly, technologies to preserve food more safely and transport it in more eco-friendly manner are also keys for sustenance. There are three representative technologies. One is the vertical farming methods that grow crops using efficient space in the city, reduces transportation distances, and provide fresh food. Secondly, there is a blockchain technology that tracks and controls the movement of food ingredients in real time. Also, there are eco-friendly packaging methods that reduces plastic waste and transports fresher crops. All of these can be methods for better food security and transportation. Some may question whether this technology can actually be used. So I brought an actual successful case. Montpellier is a city in southern France. The average temperature is low, and there is a lot of rain in the fall and winter, but almost none in the summer. As a result, there were periodical droughts, making farming quite difficult. To solve this situation, people launched the SAFE, Silverable Agroforestry for Europe project, and began building agriculture systems that would better tolerate temperature changes and drought. And as a solution to this situation, they used a technique called agroforestry. By planting walnut trees, which are drought-resistant trees, and wheat at the same time, rain was accumulated in the soil and roots of the trees during heavy rain seasons, and provided the wheat with the strength to withstand severe droughts. The trees also provided a thermal insulation effect, allowing farming to be relatively less sensitive to temperature changes. So this concludes the part about the future innovations in sustenance. Nextly, Diana will cover about the policy and ethics in sustainability. Thank you.
So first, I want to thank Eamon and Jimin for giving us such a wonderful presentation about the current and future challenges in sustenance. And now I'd like us to delve into a crucial aspect of sustainable technology, the policy and ethical considerations. Moving on to our first subtopic, let's explore the role of the governments and policy frameworks. Governments indeed play a vital role in regulating and guiding the development of sustainable technology and food production. Their involvement is crucial in ensuring that our technological advancement aligns with ethical and sustainable practices. Governments have the power to shape the future of sustainable food production through various means. They can establish legislation, provide funding for research and development, and set up regulatory entities to oversee the industry practices. The specific policy frameworks serve as the backbone of ethical and sustainable technology in food production. These include agricultural regulations that govern the land use and resource management, as well as environmental protection laws that safeguard the ecosystems affected by those practices. One of such was implemented by the United Nations in order to protect the biodiversity of our lands. Another one is the National Ecology Day that was started by the Hong Kong government for the better sustenance. It's crucial that we not only focus on the technical aspects of technology, but also consider the ethical implications. Transparency, accountability, and responsible innovation should be at the forefront of our efforts. This would ensure that our technological advancements are not only effective, but also aligned with our values and societal needs. As new technology emerges almost every day, in the near future, to guide us in this endeavor, we will need an established set of ethical guidelines. These guidelines will encompass a holistic approach, taking into account social, environmental, and economic impacts. By sticking to these principles, we can create technology that not only serves its purpose, but also upholds our collective responsibility to our planet and its inhabitants. Now, let's put theory into practice with a case study. By examining such examples, we can gain a deeper understanding of how policy and ethical considerations intersect with the sustainable technology. Let's now watch a short video about precision agriculture, which was mentioned before by Benjamin.
If you want to feed the world in 2050, then the next 40 years we need to produce the same amount of food as we did over the last 8,000 years. And that gives a little bit an indication of the pressure on the food system. We just face a huge challenge with a growing population, with a change in consumption behavior, with the climate crisis. How do you secure your food production? The real secret is the sustainable production. It should be with less inputs, less fertilizer, less pesticides, less water. It needs to be sustainable, otherwise we will destroy our planet. Yeah.
The security of the food system is one of the world's most pressing challenges. But the story of how this small country became an unexpected food superpower might just have some answers for how we tackle it.
Consider this. If everyone on Earth ate the diet of the average American, that would require all the habitable land to be used for agriculture.
If you want to...
So the precision agriculture is an innovative approach that leverages technology to optimize various aspects of farming techniques. It involves using data-driven techniques and technology tools to make more informed decisions about the crop management, irrigation, pest control, and other processes. So there are several ethical considerations in this case. First is the data privacy and ownership matters. One of the key concerns in this agriculture type, it revolves around the data privacy. Farmers collect vast amounts of information about crop yields, soil conditions, weather patterns, and etc. It is crucial to address questions about who owns this data, how it's stored, and who has access to it. Another one is its environmental impact. Precision agriculture technologies often involve use of drones, sensors, and GPS-guided machinery. While these tools enhance the efficiency and reduce resource usage, they may also have environmental consequences. For instance, the manufacturing and disposal of these technologies can contribute to electronic waste. This case study underscores the delicate balance between technological advancement and ethical responsibility of people. By addressing those questions and surrounding the sustainable technology, we've paved the way for a more inclusive and sustainable future in agriculture, where the advancements in technology benefit not only individuals, farmers, but also the communities and the environment as a whole. Moving on, let's start the next session of our presentation, which is discussions and Q&A. For the discussion points, first we have, what steps can individuals, communities, and industry take to contribute to a more sustainable future? How can we inspire and mobilize actions at various levels? In your opinion, what are some of the most promising technological innovations or strategies for addressing climate change? How can we ensure their widespread adoption? And the last one, how can we balance technological advancements with the preservation of natural ecosystems and biodiversity? What ethical considerations should guide our approach? Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, all three presenters, for this presentation. And as usual, we're going to take a short break of like 4 minutes to digest the presentation. And yeah, maybe can you keep the discussion points up throughout the break? Yes, okay, good. So short break, no, thank you. And here we are back online, recording and starting the discussion, question and answers of today's second part presentation of topic C, future of ecology and sustenance. And I must say, this is a third topic and you all have gotten the hang of it. Presentations are all very high level, both content and technically. And yes, I like how this the experimental course is evolving, how this is running. That being said, what we still can improve is the discussion part, right? So students, please start sharing your opinion, your thoughts. Everything is, there's nothing wrong, right? No wrong answers. And even if you just ask a question, that would be awesome. Just try to, let us try to start a discussion with contributions by students who were not involved in today's presentation. So, for example, let me ask the international students here, right? So you come from a variety of foreign countries, very different countries. And how is the food situation in your country? Does the majority of people have enough food, or is there usually do many people have difficulty getting enough food, like in the United States, right? There's a lot of people cannot afford food, right? It's hard to believe these days, but how about your home countries?
My country is like currently it's like in a bad situation because there is a civil war ongoing for like 3 years, and there have been like droughts and like hunger and like many problems for the past few years. In terms of food.
Interesting. So
for the first question,
yes.
What steps can individuals In my opinion, individuals can adapt sustainable habits by recycling, using energy efficient products, opting for public transport, supporting local produce, conserving water, reducing meat consumption, and staying informed and engaging in community environmental efforts. Every small change contributes to a larger impact on preserving our planet. And I know that some of this requires self-sacrifice, but engaging in at least one way that works for us would collectively make a difference.
Thank you. Yes.
I agree with Hallelujah said. A lot of these things require self-sacrifice, but it's about finding the balance between what works for us and what's beneficial for the environment. For example, if we find one sustainable practice that could fit in our lives, like for instance, if public transport doesn't work for me, I could try to focus my efforts on reducing waste or water conservation, and that could lead to a big environmental payoff if each individual does that.
Good point. Good observation. Yes.
Yep. So it's quite uncomfortable to turn on my video. Is it okay?
Yes. Okay. Go
okay.
ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for understanding. So the question two. I guess the atomic energy should be the most efficient energy and also the carbon-free energy to human can produce. So basically, on the uranium, like from the infuriated uranium and the plutonium, we can get really a lot of energy from it without the carbon emission, and that's the point that it is the most promising technological innovations of the developing the nuclear power plant is much more should be the technological innovations to prevent the climate change, and also about the new technology about like nuclear fusion. Well, like the ITER project is now currently running on the Kadarashi, and it is actually giving us much more energy efficient uh, and much more energy efficient than just only nuclear fission in theoretically, and I expect that could be also the giant leap of the energy productions without the carbon emissions.
Thank you. That's an interesting perspective, yes. Nuclear energy. It's also a controversial issue, right? Because some people think the opposite. But that's the whole point of a discussion, right? To have different opinions. So we have now covered questions 1 and 2. How about question 3? How can we balance technological advancements with the preservation of natural ecosystems and biodiversity? Amin has pointed out that this will require some sacrifice, right? A trade-off between our own convenience and what serves the environment, right? Okay, never mind. Yeah, I guess that wraps things up for today. And for topic C, future of ecology and sustenance. Next time we will talk, learn, and discuss about the future of transportation and travel. And this will be presented by Dongkyu Yoon, by Junho Park, and by Min Sung Hwang.